Excellency Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, President of the United Republic of Tanzania and the Chair of the Peace and Security Council for the month of May. Your Excellency, President of Zanzibar, Excellencies, former Head of State, Excellencies, Founder of the Panel of Wise, Excellency, the representative of the Chair of the Union, distinguished members of the Council, Excellency Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security, invited partners, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to begin by congratulating Your Excellency Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, President of the United Republic of Tanzania and Chairperson of the African Union Peace and Security Council for May 2024 on the exemplary manner with which Tanzania is steering the efforts of the Council this month. I commend Your Excellency and indeed the entire AUPSC for organizing this event on this very important day, Africa Day. This day reminds us of the liberation struggle of the continent and the crucial role played by the Liberation Committee, which was generously hosted by Tanzania. One can almost accept that the Liberation Committee to be the precursor of the current Peace and Security Council. History reminds us that the official launch of the Peace and Security Council at the level of Head of State on 25th May 2004 under the leadership of His Excellency former President Olusegun Obasanjo, who at the time was President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We are extremely privileged to have you among us today, Baba, and we are proud of your achievements. For peace and security in Africa. Excellencies, distinguished members of the Peace and Security Council, today, the 20th anniversary of the PSC provides us with an excellent opportunity to reflect on this organ and to evaluate its work. I must say straight away that I have been waiting for a meeting of this kind for some time, devoted to responsible, serious, and uncompromising reflection on the central organ of peace and security architecture, and even beyond that, the African political architecture as a whole. My contribution to this crucial debate is the result of my empirical observation and experience that my position as Chairperson of the Commission has allowed me to develop over the past 7 years. I would like to begin by briefly highlighting four major contributions made by the PSC to peace and security on the continent. In the heyday of its development, the PSC has over the years established fundamental principles for continental peace and security. The intimate link between peace and development, the solution of African problems by Africans themselves, the rejection of violent solution to African conflicts, the promotion of mediation and political dialogue, the rejection of external interference, and the unwavering commitment to the independence, sovereignty, integrity, and unity of African states have all become part of the collective imagination. The impetus given to the continent's effort to resolve a number of crises in DRC, Comoros, Côte d'Ivoire, South Sudan, Somalia, Sudan, Ethiopia, and Libya, among others, was notable milestones in this action. soft cooperation between the PSC and the United Nations Security Council has gradually been established, giving greater visibility and recognition to our primary instrument for peace and security. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, despite these positive elements, which I mentioned so as not to indulge in self-flagellation, does not seem to me to be the time for blissful self-satisfaction. There are a few challenges that I think deserve your attention more than others. I'm going to take a closer look at some of them. First among these challenges is the urgent need to assess the liberty taken with the basic principles of our continental organization, starting with the Declaration of Algiers, the Lomé Declaration, the AU Constitutive Act, the protocol establishing the PSC, and the African Charter on Democracy, Governance, and Elections in particular. To these relevant basic texts were added the Accra Declaration, the Malabo Summit Declaration on Unconstitutional Changes of Government, and the outcomes of the recent Accra Conference, reiterating yet again zero tolerance in this area. What have we not proclaimed loud and clear? What have we not done in the opposite direction? A very simple example. Article 19 of the African Charter on Democracy, Election and Governance expressly proclaims that each state party must inform the Commission of scheduled election in the said country and invite it to deploy an electoral observation mission. How many countries have refused to inform the Commission and invite it to observe the elections in their country without incurring the slightest sanction? Excellencies, Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, as everyone knows, the guiding idea of this honorable organ was to ensure value-based management of peace and security issues in Africa by Africans themselves. The background to this was and remains the protection of member states against external interference, whether rival or allied. The indigenous and exogenous content of this principle has been abused because certain values have been overlooked. Recourse to foreign forces and powers has taken root with impunity in our space. The notorious lack of inter-African solidarity has left member states beset by insoluble demands for peace and security with no way out. Populism was unleashed and unconstitutional changes of government quickly proliferated. Moreover, let us admit that PSC accommodated itself in some cases, either by refusing to apply the suspension when it essentially qualified a change as an unconstitutional change of government, or by refusing to apply sanctions when its decisions were violated, particularly with regard to the prohibition of the authors of unconstitutional change from standing as candidates in the election after the transitional period. And all those who drew attention to it, intellectuals, civil society actors, or African leaders, were treated as protesters and bitter, calculating people. The incongruity was pushed to its peak when we observed a regional economic community chaired by a member state suspended by your distinguished organ in presence of PEC members. The distortion of the concept of subsidiarity has worsened the problem. This overused concept has suffered a strange and very worrying fate, instead of being the basis of which a dynamic, fruitful, and supportive complementarity terrace, it has become the doctrinal support for a belittling of continental bodies promoted by the apparent or hidden supporters of the abandonment of the principles and decisions of the continental organization. In this way, subsidiarity has become the main ideological referent to trivialize, indeed downright paralyze, the main organ of the entire AU peace and security architecture. This situation refers to the situation of the RECs, most of which are also in difficulty. So, some of their important decisions are thus taken in ignorance, or indeed sometimes in disdain of the decision of the Peace and Security Council. The question now arises as to which one has primacy, the continental body or the regional body? Which should submit to the other? Why is there contradiction while the revised protocol in the relation between the RECs and the AU stipulates that the AU must ensure the coordination and harmonization of the continental peace and security policies? Why does a member state, whether a member of council or not, when put in difficulty by a decision of the PSC, seeks and finds through the regional organization the means to free itself from the decision of the PSC? Why tolerate this practice? In the same way, the United Nations continues to receive among its bodies and fora the African states suspended by the PSC. Moreover, some use this participation to settle their scores with the African organization. The tough question we are facing is this: how can we continue to take decisions and adopt communiques which are constantly violated without any sanction against the authors of the violation? What can we say today to the transition authorities in Africa, where the militaries will run for elections? We know today that all of them will run and will claim that they win. Let us be frank. If we are unable to do anything, why we don't revisit our legal arsenal and be harmonious with ourselves? This is more credible than continuing to decide and communicate while we know that no one among the authors of the violation and their partners in crimes will listen to us. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, another manifestation of the slump of the organs appears clearly in the indecision and frequent division we sometimes suspend decision-making. To overcome these difficulties, the practice established was being to seek compromises. In principle, compromises are better than nothing, indeed. This is not debatable. However, when compromises end up emptying decisions and their meaning by making them vague and imprecise, this is simply the abandonment of principles and the perversion of the original soul of the fine work that is PSC. Another phenomenon has compounded the situation. This is the personalization of the positions of members of the council. Instead of sticking to the founding principles and general interests of Africa, we have observed, in some cases, members detaching themselves and choose to accept strictly national individual positions while ignoring all the founding values of the institution. This commodification of the organ has caused serious damage to its prestige, credibility, and effectiveness, not only in Africa, but also with partners such as the United Nations Security Council and the other international or regional bodies responsible for global peace. Excellency, Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, the list of challenges facing the PSC is long. I cannot go any further with it. However, I cannot conclude these remarks without mentioning the limits of the Council means of action. The modesty of the Council means of intervention cannot be underestimated. I do not wish to dwell on the size of the budget allocated to the Council. They suffer the fate of all the Union's bodies. I will rather emphasize the Council's lack of any means of coercion or of imposing its decisions. This congenital weakness makes the operational function of the Council a complete pipe dream. Where is the African Army? Where is the standby force? Where is the Rapid Intervention Brigade? All these ambitious projects, whose implementation would have enhanced the peace intervention capabilities, if only to act as deterrent, have been left to rest indoors. Reactivating them is a duty and a responsibility they have to all share, beginning with myself as Chairperson of the Commission. But the leading role here unquestionably belongs to the PSC and above all to the Conference of Heads of State and Government. Excellencies, President, honorable members of the Council, Commissioner, the combination of all these factors expressed here with the modesty required by my position has dangerously reduced the Council operational capacity. By affecting its credibility, it has had a negative impact on the moral significance of its decisions. Indeed, how can we maintain that African problems must be resolved by Africans themselves and accept that their central instrument for doing so should be weakened, let alone accept that it could risk losing its soul? We are greatly challenged to provide, as a matter of urgency, the appropriate remedies. Perhaps its inclusion in the list of organs to be reformed within the framework of the institutional reform would help cool the road. I sincerely think that we must go beyond what could be suggested within this framework to engage in a broader and more meaningful overhaul. Any delay, any hesitation, any procrastination in outlining and resolute application of the chosen therapy should contribute to the withering away, perhaps even to the definitive dormancy of the prestigious and precious tool that is peace. I call upon you to combine our will and our intelligence to initiate and lead the redeeming enterprise of our holding this primordial organ and our attitudes towards its noble mission. I say it out loud and clear: there is no future for our redesigned, repositioned, revitalized, resource, reoriented Peace and Security Council. In doing so, we will not only be investing in the future, we will not only be investing in the future, we will also be fulfilling a duty to the memory of our founder fathers, and particularly of Muallim Julius Nyerere, who gave his name not only to this center, but also to the building that is the home of Peace and Security Council at our headquarters in Addis Ababa. For this important mission, I sincerely extend my hands to you and assure you of my commitment, which is a sacred duty and obligation. In conclusion, allow me once again to extend my sincere and warm thanks to you, Madam President, the government and people of Tanzania for the generous hospitality and the excellent condition you offer to us on this Africa Day. I congratulate all of you, honorable members of the Council, and the staff of the Department of Political Affairs, Peace and Security for the hard work. I also wish to recognize the presence of my brother Said Jinit, the first commissioner of the then Department of Peace and Security. I'm also delighted to see El-Qasim Wan and Dr. Kambuzi and others who have played a pivotal role in this department during the respective terms. And I want also to congratulate the partners for their support. Asante sana. Thank you.